a big wingman welcome to the wingman's path, to positivity, to raising your vibration, and to creating a life of your choosing. I can't tell you how much I love saying that every day, because you know what happens, right? The more you say stuff like that, the more you feel it, the more you believe it, the more it gets into your head. So I welcome you. For those of you who are new to the wingman's path to positivity, my name is Michael Gross, and I'm the lucky guy who gets to be the wingman on the wingman's path to positivity. And I so thank you for inviting me and all us wingmates in to share a spark of positive energy. Because I know when we share a spark, it makes it that much easier for each of us to hold on to that spark and to share it with our loved ones and our families and our friends and our neighbors and our communities, man. And when we start doing that, when we get that going, when we can surround ourselves and our neighbors and our loved ones with positive energy, well, it makes it that much easier to create a life of your choosing. So I welcome you and I thank you, and as I said, if you're new here, I am very excited for you, because I know where this path leads, and it leads to creating a life of your choosing. So I welcome you for today's practice, which is who am I? Which is asking yourself the question, who am I? The other day I was at the Buddhist temple and I was communicating with a monk, and he couldn't speak English and I certainly cannot speak Vietnamese. But somehow the thought came into my head that I'm not the man I think I am. That's right, the roosters. By the way, I'm in a rice field out in Hoi An, and I'm surrounded by chickens and hens and roosters, and they're waking up to the fact that you're not the man or the woman you think you are. The man or woman you think you are, the thoughts that were placed in your head by peers or teachers or parents, whomever, gave you a lot of limitations. And I started thinking, I'm not the man who has these thoughts. I'm the man, who am I? I started asking myself that question, and I've been asking it since. I've been asking it for the last few days, and it sort of goes along with the same practice maybe a week or so ago of just because I think it doesn't mean it's true. Start asking yourself who you are, because so often, so many of your thoughts and your beliefs were placed into your head by someone other than yourself. And I'm not saying anyone did it with bad intentions. They didn't, right? Maybe it was your parents, and that's how they were raised, and that's how their parents were raised, and that's how their parents were raised. But now it's time for you to question that. Now it's time, right? Right? The roosters know it, baby. It's time to wake up to the fact that you're your own person. You're your own man. You're your own woman. And you can create a life of your choosing. You don't have to choose to believe the thoughts that were put into your head. You know, there's a great quote from Abraham Hicks that a belief is just a thought that I keep thinking. Well, what do you want to believe about yourself? Start putting that thought into your head. And the way I started doing it, the way I started doing it was by just asking myself, who am I? Ask yourself that question. Allow that to be your question for the day. Ask yourself, who am I? And see what answers come to you. See what you start thinking about yourself. Who am I? So I don't have to tell you. You know it. You may come up with a limiting thought. You may have had a failure or two or three, or like Thomas Edison had 1,000 of them before he invented the incandescent light bulb, right? And when someone asked him how it felt to have 1,000 failures, he said, I didn't have any failures. I just found 1,000 ways it didn't work. Just because you failed doesn't mean you're a failure. Just because you have thoughts in your head of limited beliefs doesn't mean you're that person. I'm not the man I think I am. I'm someone different, and I'm going to decide who I am right now, starting today, baby. Yeah, I'm going to ask myself, who am I and who I want to be? Who am I and who do I want to be? Say it with me. Who am I and who do I want to be? Wow, is that a good question? I'm loving that. Who am I and who do I want to be? Because you know what? In this world that we live in today, you have choices, and you can be whoever you want to be. But so often those choices were dictated by someone other than you. Someone who put some thoughts into your head, some limiting beliefs into your head and into my head, right? I've had teachers, English teachers, tell me I can't write. You know how hard it becomes for me to start writing? But I've broken through that, and I know whatever limiting belief you have, you can break through it also. You can break through it. You just have to ask yourself, who am I and who do I want to be? Because why? Because a belief is just a thought that you keep thinking. And it's time for you to think a thought that you want to think. It's time for you to have a belief about who you are and who you want to be. Because when you do, when you figure that out, when you figure out who you are and who you want to be, you'll start moving in the direction of creating a life of your choosing. That's one thing I promise you. When you figure out who you are, say it with me. Who am I and who do I want to be? Boy, I love this question. And allow yourself to ponder. You don't have to answer it right away. The one thing I love about the human mind is if you let a question marinate in your mind for a little bit, it'll start bringing you answers. The human mind loves riddles, loves figuring things out, and loves answering questions. Ask yourself, who am I? And who do I want to be? Who am I and who do I want to be? I love this, and I love the fact that you're sharing it with me. Because one thing I've learned, and I say it all the time, the more of us sharing it, the better it is for each of us. Because we start sending out an energy together, and that energy gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And one thing about this world, this universe we live in, science will dictate to you that an object in motion stays in motion. And when we get our energy moving in a positive direction instead of a limiting direction, instead of a negative direction, we get our energy moving in that direction. An object in motion stays in motion. It keeps moving in a positive direction. You start sending out positive energy, and the universe starts sending you back more reasons to feel positive. I know you can become the person you want to be simply by asking yourself who you are. Who am I? Say it once more with me. Who am I? And who do I want to be? Thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing positive energy. Have a wonderful day, one in which you ask yourself the question, who am I and who do I want to be? And you start coming up with answers, and you start moving in the direction of creating a life of your choosing. Have a wonderful day. Your Wingman Michael from the Wingman's Path to Positivity out in the rice fields in Hoi An, Vietnam, signing off.